welcome to
Storybox Adventures!
Let's see what's in the box today. First item.
Close our eyes.
What is it? What is this, Annabelle? A mug, a coffee mug. Who likes to drink coffee?
You.
I do.
I do.
Oh, Annabelle likes water. Think we're gonna make coffee on the show today? I don't think so.
Oh, Garrett.
Oh, what is that?
Garrett. G2. Tip 2.
It's not a G2.
HME.
This is called an HME. This is kind of like a little hat for Garrett's trach. The trach is the little piece that comes out of Garrett's neck. It helps him breathe. It goes right like this. Right? Right like that. You want to try it on?
Oh, it's so
What
nice.
is
Captain
in here?
America, you want
Aha!
Hat.
A cap!
Daddy. Hi, Daddy.
Oh,
No.
wait a minute.
Mine. There's another cap. And another cap. So many caps.
All right, we all got hats on. Why do we have so many different types of hats? When would you wear a sun hat?
If it's sun.
Yeah, to help keep the sun out. What about kind of a warmer hat
Winter.
in the winter time? Okay, one more thing in the box. Ooh,
That's why
smell it. It smells so good. Mmm. Now this orange is the secret ingredient to something.
I eat it.
You'll see what we use it for. You can peel it and eat it. Oh, it smells so good. Keep watching to see where we find these items in the books we read and the projects we do. First book we're going to read is called A Hat for Ivan. A Hat for Ivan. Ivan was a happy boy. He lived in the town of Hatville, a place where everyone wore hats. Not just any hats. The doctors wore doctor hats. The cooks wore cooking hats. The farmers wore farming hats. Everyone wore hats, and Ivan's father was the hat maker. A very good hat maker. Ivan loved to watch him work. People would come to his shop to order a hat, and Ivan's father would ask, "What do you really love to do?" "I love to fish," one man said. "Do you fish well?" "That I do." "Then you need a fishing hat." And so Ivan's father would make it, complete with a pocket for the hooks and a small bucket for the bait. He made everyone a hat. And since everyone wore a hat, everyone knew what everyone else loved to do and did well. Want some flowers? Talk to the lady with the roses on her head. Need directions? Ask the man with a hat made from a map. Wondering how to fix a fence? Look for the fellow who wears a hat shaped like a hammer. Everyone wore hats, and Ivan's dad made hats. Could anything be better than that? One thing could: getting your own hat. And Ivan was about to receive his. At the age of 10, each boy and girl celebrated Hat Day. Ivan was 9, going on 10. He could hardly wait to get his hat. What will mine look like? He wondered. Would it be made of felt like the clerk's, bright blue like the policemen's, covered with cloth like the dressmaker's? He didn't know, but he would find out soon. All Ivan could think about was his new hat. All he could talk about was his new hat. He told everyone he saw, "My hat day is coming." The people in Hatville were excited for Ivan. Some people had their own ideas about what kind of hat he should wear. Felix the baker did. Ivan passed Felix Bakery every morning on the way to school. And every morning Ivan stopped in the doorway and smelled the baking bread. He couldn't always see Felix. Felix was short and round like the cookies he baked. But he could always see Felix's bobbing hat. It was tall and white like the wedding cakes he made. One day, when Ivan stopped by for a sniff, Felix was waiting for him. "I hear you're about to get your hat." He smiled at the young boy. "I am," Ivan replied with pride. "Well, I have a surprise for you. Come in." And with that, the baker stepped back into the shop, and Ivan followed. What could the surprise be? A donut? Some cookie dough? No. Felix didn't give Ivan something to eat. He gave him something to wear. "I have a hat for you," announced the baker. Ivan was surprised. Not disappointed, not happy, just surprised. He thought his hat would come from his father, the hat maker, but then again, maybe he was wrong. Besides, Ivan didn't want to hurt his friend's feelings. "Thank you, Mr. Felix," Ivan said, taking the hat. "Go ahead, put it on." And so Ivan did. But it was too big. It fell, not just over his eyes, but over his whole face. "That's okay, little friend. It will soon fit. Just wear it anyway." Ivan didn't know what to say except, "Thanks again." And he turned to walk out the door. But when he did, he ran into the wall. "Here, I'll help you," offered Felix, guiding his friend to the door. "You look great, just like me." Ivan started to say thanks again, but he tripped on the step and fell flat on his back. "Funny," he said to himself. "I thought my hat would fit better than this." Since he walked the same path to school every morning, Ivan was able to feel his way down the street. Soon the scent of daisies and roses told him he was nearing the flower shop. When he heard the hammers pounding, he knew he was near the carpenter shop. And the sound of music told him he was passing by Miss Anita's piano studio. Miss Anita loved music, and Miss Anita loved Ivan. Ivan's father had made her a special hat, wide, round, with tiny guitars on top and piano strings dangling from the brim. Since each string had a bell on the end, everyone knew when Miss Anita was near. It was a different sort of hat, but it was perfect for Miss Anita. No one else would want to wear it, but Miss Anita wouldn't be without it. She loved the hat, and she loved Ivan, and she loved it when he stopped to hear her play. Of course, on this day, she didn't recognize him. All she saw was a tall hat on a small boy. "Who are you?" she asked. From within the hat came a muffled voice. "It's me, Miss Anita. It's Ivan." He heard her quick steps on the wooden floor. "That's not the hat for you," she declared as she yanked it off his head. "It's not," he replied. "Of course not. There is only one hat for you." Suddenly, Miss Anita disappeared into her studio and came out with a very different-looking hat. "I made this just for you. I've been working on it for days. Here, try it on." Ivan was surprised, not happy, not disappointed, just surprised. He'd never seen a hat like this one. "Funny," Ivan said to himself. "Miss Anita is a good musician, but she's not a good hat maker." A piccolo dangled from the side, and sheet music was glued to the top. Bells and whistles hung in front of Ivan's face, and a drumstick dangled like a ponytail on his back. "It looks perfect," Miss Anita declared. "This hat was made for you." Ivan smiled. The music teacher turned and walked back into the studio, pleased with herself. Now Ivan had two hats, one in his hand and one on his head. He didn't like wearing either one, but he did not want to hurt anyone's feelings. He didn't know what else to do except keep walking to school. But the hatmaker's son was barely down the street when he met a new problem.
"Ivan!"
The voice was deep and big and belonged to Bruno the firefighter.
"What is that on your head?"
"Miss Anita gave it to me."
"As a joke?"
"No, for real."
"It's a good thing I came along. I knew your hat day was near, so I brought you a gift."
For the third time that day, a hat was placed on Ivan's head. This hat was just like Bruno's, long and red and very shiny. A piece of fire hose was wrapped around it, and a miniature ladder stood straight up on top. The big fireman held the hat steady, while Ivan tightened the strap beneath his chin.
"Now that is what I call a hat,"
Bruno boomed in his deep voice. Ivan stepped back, and when he did, he fell over. The hat was so tall and heavy that the boy couldn't keep his balance. Bruno helped him up, stepped back, and Ivan fell again.
"You'll get used to it, Ivan," Bruno told him. "I did."
And with that, he turned to leave. Ivan tried and tried to stand, but kept falling backwards. He stepped back as fast as he could until his back was against a wall. "Thanks, Mr. Bruno," he shouted, although he didn't feel thankful. Funny, Ivan thought to himself. It's easy for Bruno to wear this big hat, but hard for me. What he did feel was confused. When he had left the house, he had no hats. Now he had 3, and he didn't like any of them. With one, he couldn't see. With the other, he didn't want to be seen. And with the third, he couldn't stand up. What was he going to do? He did not know what to do except to go on to school. So, with one hand holding the heavy hat on his head and one hand holding the others, he carefully walked the rest of the way. Things didn't get any better at school. In fact, they got worse. His hats interrupted the class. If he wore the baker's hat, everyone chuckled. If he wore the musical hat, he made too much noise. He tried to keep Bruno's hat on his head, but he kept falling off his chair. "Ivan," the teacher finally declared, "maybe you better go home." Ivan was sad, but he knew she was right. He still didn't know what to do. He had too many hats. On the way home, he was given many more. The farmer gave him a straw hat with a bandana to keep the sun off. The beekeeper gave him a netted one to keep the bees out. The woodsman gave him a wool cap to keep his ears warm. A clown gave him a cone hat with many colors, and the bookshop owner gave him a hat shaped like a dictionary. Ivan soon had so many hats that he could barely carry them all. He would drop one, and when he bent over to pick it up, he would drop another. He finally had them balanced when all of a sudden he saw Felix, the baker. "Oh no," he thought, "I'm wearing the farmer's hat." So he dropped them all and just barely got the baker's hat on his head and over his eyes when Felix saw him. "Looks great, Ivan," shouted Felix. Ivan sounded tired. "Thanks." Balancing the hats was hard enough, but now Ivan's eyes were covered as he walked. He couldn't see where he was going. He had stopped to rest when he heard the tinkling of tiny bells. It was Miss Anita. Ivan pulled off the baker hat and threw on the musical hat just in time. "Oh, you look wonderful," Miss Anita exclaimed as she passed. Ivan had started picking up the rest of the hats when he heard the deep voice of Bruno.
"Ivan, is that you?"
As quickly as he could, Ivan replaced the musical hat with the firefighter's hat. "It's me," he said, straightening, then falling back and back and back until he landed on his bottom. Bruno didn't even see Ivan fall. He was already turning the corner.
"Looks terrific, my friend,"
Bruno called over his shoulder. "Thanks," Ivan mumbled to no one but himself. He was so tired, he didn't even try to get up. He just sat there, surrounded by hats. Looks like you've had quite a day." Ivan couldn't remember when a voice ever sounded so good. "Father," he said, jumping up, "you won't believe what happened today. Everybody gave me a hat, and—" "None of them fit?" Ivan's father spoke up. "That's right," said the boy. "And they made you tired?" Ivan nodded. "But you didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings." Ivan shook his head. His father put his arm around his son. "That's right." Ivan stopped. "How did you know?" "I'm the hat maker, Ivan. I have seen what happens when people wear hats they weren't intended to wear. They feel silly, they fall down, and they get tired." Ivan's father got down on his knees and wiped a smudge of dirt off his son's cheek. "Listen, son, just because someone gives you a hat, that doesn't mean you are supposed to wear it. They mean well, but they don't know you. That's my job. I'm the hat maker, and I'm your father. So you'll make a hat just for me?" "I will. All you have to do is ask." "Oh, please, Father." Ivan smiled. "I would like that very much." "Well, let's gather up these hats and go home then." As the hat maker and his child walked toward home, the father asked, "Tell me, Ivan, what do you really love to do?" The end.
Do you know what it is?
No.
Me neither.
What do you really love to do?
My family.
Be with your family. So your hat would have a picture of your family on it?
Uh-huh.
I love to be with my family too. You know what else I really love? Being outside. I think maybe my hat would have
So, a picture of your family outside.
a picture of my family outside on my hat. Yes, I love being outdoors and I love dancing. So maybe my hat would have a picture of my family
Dancing
outside dancing. Terry is going to imagine that she's the baker. She's going to put on her best baker's hat. And she's going to show us how to bake something in that coffee mug. In this simple bread in a mug recipe, you just need 4 ingredients: almond flour, baking soda, eggs, and butter. This is such a cool recipe that we can do this all with 1 mug.
Yes.
It's one you can do on your own.
Yes.
And it's also, because we use almond flour, it's also gluten-free. Now, why is that important for you, Kateri?
Because I am gluten-free. And I get sick when I eat gluten, so don't want to get sick.
Yeah,
So I'm gluten-free.
Kateri has a kind of like an allergy, would you say? Kind of like an allergy to products with gluten, like typically breads or cookies or cakes or crackers. If they're made with wheat flour, they give you a tummy ache.
Yes.
So this recipe, she's going to show you, it's super simple and it doesn't give her a tummy ache. Let's go.
To make this gluten-free mug bread, the first thing I do is measure out 1/4 a cup of almond flour. And I dump it in. Next, I scoop out 2 teaspoons of butter with a spoon and dump it in. Then I crack in 1 egg. Finally, I measure out 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder and dump it into the mix. And I stir it all around. I get the last odds and ends of the butter and stir it around. Then I bring it over to the microwave. I microwave it for 90 seconds. Then I scoop it out. I'm all done.
All right, let's try this bread that Kitty made. I'm gonna serve it to you, and I'm gonna serve it with some butter and jelly. All right?
All right. Okay.
Kitty, do you like baking things?
Yes, I do.
Do you think if you were in the book, A Hat for Ivan, would you have a baker's hat?
Maybe a dressmaker or a singer or waitress or
There's a lot of things you would like to be. What about you, Declan?
I would have sports on my head.
Sports.
Sports. That's
Something
a
to
good one.
do with
Yes.
sports.
I used to. It's good.
Is it good? What do you think, Captain America? Good? Well, I'm going to go to the hospital and read Garrett the next story. What kind of hat do you think Garrett would wear? What does he love to do?
He loves to relax.
To relax and be with his
He
family.
loves nature too.
He does love to be outside.
Sloths!
And sloths. There are a lot of things.
How about relaxing out in the nature, watching sloths?
With sloths. I'll bring a hat. I'll bring a hat to put on him in the hospital. And we'll talk about his HME, about how it's a little hat for his drink. So I'm gonna head to go do that now. You guys keep enjoying your treats, and I'll be back in a bit. Remember the 4 items that were in our box? Let's bring some to the hospital and talk about them while we visit Garrett. Okay. I brought Garrett the orange to smell, but he's sleeping. You're sleeping. I'll read him the story. Oh, are you gonna wake up for this story? We brought a cap to put on your head. That's Daddy's cap. It looks good on you. Caps for sale. I do not know how to say this last name. That's a neat last name though. Esfir Slabandkina? Esfir Slabandkina. I think I'm pronouncing Mr. Slabandkina's name wrong, but I like his name. Do you like his name? Caps for sale. Once there was a peddler who sold caps. He carried them on top of his head. First he had his own checked cap, then a bunch of gray caps, brown caps, blue caps, and red caps on the very top. Caps! Caps for sale! 50 cents a cap, he called. One morning, he couldn't sell any caps. Slowly he walked up and down the street calling, "Caps! Caps for sale! 50 cents a cap!" But nobody wanted any caps. "I think I'll go for a walk in the country," he said. He walked for a long time, until he came to a great big tree. "That's a nice place for a rest," thought he. So he went to sleep. But when he woke up, all the caps were gone except his own checked cap. He looked to the right. He looked to the left. He looked behind the tree. No caps. Then he looked up. And what do you think he saw? On every branch sat a monkey. On every monkey was a gray or a brown or a blue or a red cap. "You monkeys, you," he said, shaking a finger at them, "you give me back my caps." But the monkeys only shook their fingers back at him and said, "Tch, tch, tch." This made the peddler angry, so he shook his hands at them and said, "You monkeys, you give me back my caps." But the monkeys only shook their hands back at him and said, "Tch, tch, tch." By this time, the peddler was really very, very angry. He stamped his feet and shouted, "You monkeys, you must give me back my caps." But the monkeys only stamped their feet back at him and said, "Tch, tch, tch." At last he became so angry that he pulled off his own cap, threw it on the ground, and began to walk away. But then each monkey pulled off its cap, and all the gray caps, and all the brown caps, and all the blue caps, and all the red caps came flying down out of the tree. So the peddler picked up his caps and put them back on his head. First his own checked cap, then the gray caps, brown caps, blue caps, and the red caps at the very top. And slowly, slowly, he walked back to town, calling, "Caps! Caps for sale!
50 cents a cap."
The end. Garrett, did you sleep through that whole book? Are you a sleepy pants? Hi. I like your pretty eyes. We were talking about how this HME is like a hat for you. Another name for this is actually a Swedish nose. Should maybe be called a Swedish hat. I'm going to show them how we put it on you. This HME is also called a Swedish nose because when you put it on his trach like a little hat, it behaves sort of like a nose would behave on people who breathe out of their nose. Right now, though, I'm going to take it off and put his ventilator back on because he's a little sick right now and he breathes better with the ventilator. Even though the HME acts like a nose for him to breathe, he still smells with his regular nose. You think he can smell this yummy orange? We are going to use this orange to make something special. Can you guess what it is? We're going to squeeze it, but not all of it, just a little bit. You might be thinking we're going to make orange juice. That's not right. We're mostly going to use a different kind of citrus fruit. We're mostly going to be using a yellow fruit, and then just a little squeeze of orange right at the end. When I go back home to Kateri and Declan and Annabelle, we're going to make a big jug of this, Garrett, because it's a hot day outside. It is warm. It feels like summer. I see you're listening to me. He's just pretending to sleep. Garrett's actually not supposed to be asleep right now. He's supposed to be awake right now. That's why I'm bothering him. I'm not letting you stay in peace. You need to sleep in the nighttime and be awake during the day. He's sort of got things flipped around right now, so we want to help him know during the daytime it's the time to be awake. It's very hot outside and we're going to make some cold drinks that Kateri and Declan and maybe Annabelle, they're going to sell something yummy and cold out of their cart.
I bet when you get better and you get to leave the hospital, you're gonna help them in that cart. That will be fun. Declan said that the hat you would wear would have your family on it because you love your family. And do you know what I think it might have on it? I see you. I think it might have someone kissing your face on it because you like that. Oh, come on. Show us how you like that. Oh, you little rascal. Well, I guess Garrett is gonna really sleep. But I better go and help make that cold beverage. Do you know what it is?
We're going back to where we started the show to sell this yummy cold beverage.
We are sitting in Kitty's Cart Cafe.
In Kitty's Cart Cafe. Declan, what's Kitty's Cart Cafe?
Place where we sell.
A place where we sell things. It's actually an old pony cart that we found. We bought it a few years ago and we've painted it and fixed it up. If you haven't guessed it, it's lemonade that we make. And we sell it out of our special cart. It's called, what is it called, Annabelle?
Blue.
Blue. No, it's called Kitty's Cart Cafe. A squeeze of orange is the secret ingredient to make delicious lemonade. We gotta get busy selling, so that's the end of our show for today.
Did you see how we used all of the items from the box?
Now that goes on there.
Thanks for being here this week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.